Hi everyone. Can you believe it? Week 7? March 1st. White rabbits. I said that this morning. Week 7. Hybrid courses. So, things, hopefully you're learning. You're learning about HTML. You can work on your sites. You don't have to be in class to work on them. Okay, so we worked on the sites a little bit to start with to make sure everybody is on track. And the class time is the perfect time to collaborate and work on that. A little review. Let me go through that. Waterfall and the Agile in terms of designing and building your websites. Waterfall falls into these categories again. Let me repeat them. You have, let's say, some type of, let me back up here. You have some type of problem you're going to solve, and so you do an analysis, and you make sure you understand it. That would be true for both of those. And then after the analysis, when you really understand it, then you develop the design. And you keep developing the design before you go into the development stage, where you actually start creating it. In the waterfall, you would make sure, here we'll go like this, you would make sure you would have, here's the waterfall, you would make sure you would have almost each stage done before going to the next. Okay? Kind of like building a house. You really got to understand what you're going to do before you design it. You got to have the design pretty much done before you start building it. But in this crazy agile world for developing software, you still have to understand what you're developing it for. So you do some analysis, a little bit of design, and then you start developing it. And then you iterate this. You go back and reanalyze what you're doing, develop, reiterate it. Okay? And that's what I was trying to show over here. And so you develop these sprints that, I don't know, it can be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on your company and your project. And then you have some type of milestone you want to meet. You know, you want to meet this level. Okay? And then if there's some things short, then you reiterate and do it again. Both have a lot of value depending on what you're doing, okay, what you're designing. Let's move on. Everybody should be working their outlines, and then in your outline you are to review other people's, and you can find that in the modules. It's always, or in the announcements, it's always there. Okay. We've got some evaluations coming up on Friday, and you should be working on projects. Should be thinking about what you're doing for an individual project. And then we talked about today, we talked about copyright. Like this whole stuff here, all this stuff right here that I'm working on, drawing right here. This is all copyright. It's once you design something, it actually is already copyright. You don't have to go somewhere. So people shouldn't use my information here unless they have my permission. Okay, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that. Talk today, it's really important to understand who your audience is and making your sites fit for your audience. And if you are using other people's work, you have to make sure you cite it correctly. A couple things here. We talked about you can create your website on your local machine, and you can open it with your browser and see how it looks. Then when you get it just the way you want it, you can upload it to the web server. That works the same way in WordPerfect. You can be working on your site even though it's in the cloud. So you're working on it here at what did I say? WordPress. I said WordPerfect. Well, that takes me back in my age. So you can be working on it here in WordPress, and then when you decide for the public to see it, you can publish it. Okay? After spring break, we'll show you some ideas of using some other cloud services, maybe AWS, or there might be other places in the cloud where you can go ahead and have your web pages served up. Okay. Talk a little bit about URLs and domain names. Okay, here's the domain, here's the subdomain. Get it? Now, this is going to take us to the next page. We talked about fair use and so forth. Colleges and testing, students looking up the answers. For the test, you take a little snippet of the question, put it in a search engine like Google, and all of a sudden these sites come up with the question and the answers. Okay? It's bad to do that. It's bad, or maybe even illegal in some cases, for those people to publish those answers out on the internet. And it's hard to regulate. So we talked a little bit about that. That has to go with some of the things we finished up with in class, I should say, on Friday. We talked about things on YouTube, advertising, Facebook, legal issues. I opened up the privacy policy, or the policies of what Facebook can do with your data, and we went over that in class. Those are interesting. All these is interesting. YouTube, they supply the service, but then are they responsible for what people put up there? And we talked about some things we just have fair use. You can use it, and they use this pain. What's the purpose that you're using it for? A lot of people are very good with, if you're using it for education, as long as you're not using too much. What's the nature of the use? How are you using it? You're using it to help kids learn, as an example. Then what effect? Some people said, well, that's how much e-commerce. Well, it could, but what effect? If you're using something, does it affect somebody else's, let's say, money they might earn from it? Or maybe it affects their reputation, or their, whatever it might be. Okay? We will spend a little time here as we keep moving through these things, talking a little bit about open source and licensing for open source. So, a big part was this Creative Commons. The students looked up that information, and it's really cool how it works. So, that is it for today.